Good morning, Utah Democrats. My name is Lauren Littlefield, and I am the Executive Director of the Utah Democratic Party. Thanks for taking the time to check out our little training here and our information session about our 2017 state organizing convention. It's going to be June 17th up at Weber State University. We'll probably start kind of early in the morning, 8 or 9 o'clock, and we'll probably go all day. So make sure as you're planning for that you're for childcare or transportation, just plan to be there. It's going to be a long day. We've got a lot of exciting stuff to do. We don't want anybody to miss it. So today I just want to talk about a kind of overview about the party structure and the convention and what all that looks like. So we'll start with talking about the party structure and the different committees that you can be a part of. And then we'll talk about delegates and who are the delegates and what do they do and how do you become one. And then we'll talk about our issue caucuses. We've got 16 of those. We'll talk about registration and your credential and what to expect there and what you're going to need to bring. We'll talk about what we need to get done at the convention, including our election for chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, etc. And then we'll talk about the voting and how all that'll take place. And then if we have time, we'll take some questions at the end. So the party structure, we've got kind of 6 big arms, if you will. We've got our county parties, which are super important to us. We've got our issue caucuses. We've got 16 of those. We've got our delegates, which is who's going to be meeting at the convention on the 17th. We've got our standing committees, like our rules committee, our platform committee, judiciary, etc. We've got our central committee, which is kind of like our legislative branch. And then we've got our advisory committees. And right now there's a lot of committees going on. And so we're working with a restructuring task force to present some changes to that structure to try and make it a little less complicated and a little more open and transparent and welcoming. So let's move on to delegates. That is the body that we're going to be talking about for the rest of the day. So our delegates, they were elected at our neighborhood caucuses in 2016. Delegates are elected every 2 years at the neighborhood caucuses. And so the next time we will elect new delegates is going to be in March of 2018 at the neighborhood caucuses. For someone to be a delegate, all they have to be is, an eligible voter. They've got to live in the precinct and be able to vote by the upcoming November election. The most important function of a delegate is nominating candidates to the general election, voting on the platform and changes to the Constitution, and then, of course, electing our state party leadership, which we do every other year on the odd years, like this year, 2017. The other thing that delegates are responsible for is filling vacancies. So, for example, if one of our Democrats has to resign for some reason, then the delegates would meet to choose a replacement that we would then put onto, the mayor or the governor or whatever body that Democrat resigned from. And so that's the other important function of a delegate. If you want to become a delegate or you want to check your delegate status, you're going to want to go onto our website, utdem.org. And you're going to look at county parties. So you'll click on the Our Dems kind of link up there, and then you'll look for the county parties link, and you'll be able to find that. And I know right now when you Google us, there's some weird Japanese writing, and I promise we're aware of it, and we're working with our web team to get it fixed. So, but if you actually go to our website, you'll be totally fine. We're not actually damaged. So you're going to want to call your county party chair once you get to that link and ask them about delegate vacancies. That is kind of the key words that you want to use when you're talking to these folks, and find out what the process is, right? Do you need to call a ledge chair? Do you need to call them? What does that look like? And you can fill those slots up. The first thing that's going to happen the day of convention is probably our issue caucus meetings. Right now, we've got 16 issue caucuses, and I know we're trying to create a couple more. But we've got a Stonewall caucus, which is our LGBT caucus. We've got a women's caucus. We've got an environmental caucus, Young Democrats. These caucuses are kind of separate organizations from the party, but they really function kind of within the party structure. Some caucuses focus on legislative issues, some focus on candidates, et cetera, et cetera. But at these meetings, likely what's going to happen is these caucuses are going to individually endorse candidates for the 4 offices that we're looking for, and some might elect their own caucus leadership. I'm having a Marco Rubio moment. The next thing that happens at convention is registration and credentialing. This is a very important piece of the date of convention. You're not going to be able to vote unless you check in and get your credential. So the way it works is you'll be able to go to any line. There'll be some friendly volunteers at a table You can go up to any of them, give them your first and last name, and they will find you on the delegate list. You're going to want to show your photo ID so we can say you are who you say you are. And then you'll be given your credential and your ballot. So the volunteer is going to staple your ballot to the back of your credential and give it to you with your lanyard. So you've already got your ballot, so you don't have to wait in line 3 times. You only have to wait in line twice. So you keep that ballot with you because you can't fill it out until after the candidates have spoken. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit. So then the business in the convention hall, we've got quite a busy day. We've got to do our call to order. We've got to have our credentials report. We've got to have our rules report. We'll be voting on some constitutional and bylaw changes from the restructuring task force. And we've also got a platform that we need to debate and talk about. And then we also have candidate speeches. So we've got somewhere around 20 different candidates who are running for the 4 different offices, and each of those candidates will get 4 to 6 minutes to speak depending on which office they're running for, and so that'll take a good chunk of time. We've got to do the balloting, and so you'll have your first ballot, so that one will go relatively quickly, but then for the second ballot you're going to have to come back to those registration tables and get your second ballot, and then of course we've got to count the ballots, and so it's a busy full day. So the offices that are up for election, we've got four offices up for election. We've got chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. These 4 positions all play incredibly important roles in the party. The chair is certainly the figurehead of the party and is responsible for fundraising and certainly, helping to set our vision with the rest of the executive committee and the staff. Is a member of the DNC, so helpful to be our voice on a national stage. The vice chair is also a member of the DNC and definitely stands in whenever the chair is unavailable. And certainly really helping us with kind of the governance side of what we do, so the rules and the convention and judiciary committee and making sure that we're compliant with state law with our nominating process. Our secretary works to help make sure that we are open and transparent with our meetings, and our treasurer really helps us to stay compliant with the state and federal government. So the convention balloting process, I really want to talk through this because it's an important process. So unlike a nominating convention in an even year like 2016, there's a maximum of 2 ballots, right? And so the first ballot, everyone who's filed for every office will be on that ballot. You'll get that when you register. Once the balloting has closed, so we'll put the ballot boxes out after the speeches are over. We'll make sure everybody has a chance to vote. We'll give lots of warnings as to when balloting is going to close. And then the ballots are counted by staff and pre-selected volunteers. And also, there will be a designee from each of the campaigns allowed in the balloting room to just sort of observe and make sure that everything is happening in a fair way. What happens then is the top 2 vote getters from each of those categories will go on to the second ballot. So let's say that Mickey Mouse, Goofy, Donald Duck, and Minnie Mouse are all running for chair. Let's say that Goofy and Donald Duck are the top 2 vote getters. So those 2 would be going on to the second ballot. So once the first ballot is counted, we'll announce the results in the convention hall, and then we will hand out the second ballot. And so you'll go back to the registration table, you'll get your second ballot, you'll be able to fill it out and put it in a ballot box, and then we'll go count those ballots with the same process as the first ballot, and then we'll announce the results from the dais. And so you really want to stick around to get those results announced. Voting on constitution and bylaw changes, this is going to happen during the counting process. So we don't want there to be any time where people are just milling around and bored and have the potential to leave. There'll be food, so don't worry about that. You're not going to starve. But we do want people to stick around. And so while we're counting the ballots, that's when we'll start voting on those constitutional and bylaw changes, as well as the platform. We want to make sure that we're not wasting anybody's time at this convention. We'll have some constitutional changes to vote on, as well as some bylaw changes. The next piece of it is voting on the platform. So we've had a platform committee that has been meeting since March of 2015. They're an awesome group of people led by Jean Good, and we have some really, really committed members that we're very appreciative of. That vote will take place by a voice vote, as will the Constitution and bylaws. So there'll be a raise of hands for yeas and nays. The draft platform is going to be available by May 15th for folks to read. We want to make sure that people get a chance to be familiar with it before they're voting and making changes. So both of those, the Constitution, bylaws, and the platform, will be done by a voice vote, and we'll use our convention rules and Robert's Rules of Order to make sure that that is all happening in an organized and succinct way. So those are kind of the major things that are happening at the convention. There's some important dates I want you guys to be aware of. June 15th and 16th, we're going to have a 2-day training for county party leaders that are new, for activists, for people who want to run for office, people who just want to be super volunteers, people who want to run a campaign. We'll have a 2-day training for you that'll be Thursday and Friday. And then Friday evening, we're going to be having our Taylor and Maine Awards dinner at the Rail here in Salt Lake City. That's going to be a great event, and make sure to get your nominations for the Taylor and Maine Awards in. You can find that link on our Facebook page. And then we'll see you all on June 17th at our state organizing convention at Weber State University. We'll have full schedules released in the next month or so. And I just appreciate your time. Thanks for watching. Remember to check your delegate status, call your county chair, get your tickets to the Taylor and Maine dinner, and we'll see you on the 17th. Oh, and if you have any questions, you can feel free to email me at that email address that is currently on the screen, littlefield@utdem.org. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.